and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So AOC is picking a fight with the Supreme Court. She's enraged. She's furious. But before we show a video of AOC really being so angry at the Supreme Court, even though, again, there's a lot of things the Democrats could have done to help out, students, minorities, the LGBTQ community, and women. But they didn't. And because Roe v. Wade is gone, affirmative action is gone, rights for LGBTQ community gone, student debt forgiveness gone, what are the Democrats going to do? The key word is called fundraise. Fundraise. Use fear to get suckers to give them money. But a beginning is a very delicate time. So let's talk about this. I want to first pull up this video. Again, huge shout out to Case Study QB, who's wrongly being censored. So let's talk about how this all kind of started and how Biden doesn't plan to fight to expand the Supreme Court, because you've got people who are saying it's time for us to expand the Supreme Court.
Reform again?
Well, I did look at here's two things. Before I got elected, while I put together a group of constitutional scholars to try to expand the court, which I think is a mistake after all the judgment was that doesn't make sense because it can become so politicized in the future.
You were on that commission. I believe you started off skeptical of court expansion, but now you think that's the only way to save the Supreme Court and rebalance it?
I do, yes. So I started off skeptical of court expansion.
All right, so here's the problem with court expansion. Not only will it cause further infighting between the Democratic and Republican politicians, who, mind you, are also getting rich through insider trading, but also what's preventing the next president from expanding the Supreme Court to putting in more of their justices in? And then it goes on, back and forth, to where, oh my goodness, we got 1,000 Supreme Court justices. I mean, maybe I'm over-exaggerating a little, but Biden wants to expand the Supreme Court. I don't know if Trump gets reelected. What's stopping Trump from doing that? The problem with the Supreme Court is that the American people are not involved in it as much. And that is pretty sad. How do we reform it? Well, let's have the American people vote for who our Supreme Court justices will be. Maybe we need to have more involvement. Maybe it's time for the people to be involved. And, I don't know. Hey, politicians, maybe it's time for you to do your job and actually, controversial statement here. Maybe help out the people. But maybe that's asking too much.
Started off skeptical of term limits. I ended up convinced first that we can do term limits by statute. We don't need a constitutional amendment, and we certainly should do that. I think pretty much everyone who's thought about it agrees that would improve the institution. But
again, another thing too, term limits. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg stayed in there with the numerous health problems she had. She's lucky a strong wind didn't blow her over and her crack open her head. Everyone was so proud of her. Oh, yeah, definitely strong and independent. But her arrogance and the inability of the Obama administration to hold her accountable and call for her to retire is what led us to the Supreme Court that we're at right now. So I know everyone's vilifying Trump and his justices, but Trump would not have this opportunity were it not for the Democrats' inaction on actually trying to maintain their majority control over the Supreme Court with their justices. It says a lot about the Democratic Party and them not taking accountability. So if you're a diehard vote blue no matter who person, remember, the reason why we have this Supreme Court now isn't because of Trump. Yes, he plays a factor for it, but it's really Obama and his administration and his inability to really fight, which is probably something he didn't want to do in the first place.
Also do think the situation is so urgent that we should do court expansion too, because I think that this court is attacking the democratic process. That's what disturbs me the most. And if we let this court lock in minority control, we may never get it back.
Well, the thing is, we don't have control over the Supreme Court. We never did. And the people don't have any call for it either. But now AOC, she's so upset by this because, oh my God, she is shocked that there's corruption in the Supreme Court. I mean, AOC, newsflash. Hold on. Wait. We gotta look in the camera for this one. AOC. Eye contact. right here. Look, AOC, listen. This might surprise you, but there's corruption in Congress too. Your favorite mama bear, Nancy, she's doing insider trading. Even Dianne Feinstein, that senile old bat, she's doing insider trading. Well, she has people doing it for her, but whatever. Everyone in the Democratic and Republican establishment are doing insider trading. Are you going to do anything into that? Because now AOC is calling for investigations into Supreme Court justices she doesn't agree with. So because she doesn't agree with them, they're the bad guy. Here, let's play this video.
Courts, if they were to proceed without any check on their power, without any balance on their power, then we will start to see an undemocratic and frankly dangerous authoritarian expansion of power in the Supreme Court, which is what we are seeing now, from the overturning of abortion rights to the ruling that discrimination and frankly stripping the full personhood and dignity of LGBTQ people in the United States. These are the types of rulings that signal a dangerous creep towards authoritarianism and centralization of power in the court. In fact, we have members of the court themselves, with Justice Elena Kagan, saying that the court is beginning to assume the power of a legislature.
Yeah, but AOC, there was nothing stopping Congress from actually following through and legislating. And I don't know, how about this one? Just going to use one example, codifying Roe v. Wade. Remember when Obama said, yeah, I'm going to do that. That's the first thing I'm going to do. But then he said it wasn't politically necessary as soon as he got elected into office. I mean, there was nothing stopping the Democrats, especially during that time when Obama got in, with Biden as his VP. They had a super majority. They've had numerous opportunities even before Obama got elected where they could have codified Roe v. Wade. And I mean, there was that one point during the Obama administration, the early first 2 years, there was a lot that Obama could have done in theory. But he didn't, because he didn't want to, because the Democrats like to fundraise off of fear. But I do know this: if Roe v. Wade died under Trump, oh my goodness, the social justice warrior complex would be moving at full speed. Riots in the streets, the pink pussy hats everywhere. 5 years of AOC. 5 years of AOC we've had her. Hey, AOC, how come you haven't led the fight to codify Roe v. Wade? You know, you should have been very vocal about it, but no, I guess you didn't do that.
Right now, whether it is expansion of the court.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want
Yes.
to, how do you do that? How are you proposing a law or a bill?
See, she wasn't expecting that question. Oh, you want me to do my job? No, I don't have time to do that. I'm sorry. Can't do that. Too busy. Bye-bye.
There's several ways. First, we have a Senate Judiciary Committee.
The Senate Judiciary Committee that goes through another committee, that sits through another committee, that gets postponed and gets sent right back to another committee, that gets reflected on by a committee, that's then put into a cabinet, and the key is locked, and the cabinet is locked, and the key is thrown away. That's how it's going to work.
That is beginning the process of investigating the entanglements and conflicts of interest.
I like how she used the word entanglement. Anytime I hear the word entanglement, I think Jada Smith and Will Smith, that infamous conversation those two had.
1 to 2 weeks before the student loan ruling, the country learned that Justice Samuel Alito was accepting gifts from billionaires who were lobbying against Supreme Court that were lobbying before the Supreme Court against student loan forgiveness. Just weeks before, we learned that he was accepting gifts from them and travel and vacations from them before he decided to vote and rule in their favor. And so I believe that
this is one hell of a word salad. She asked a question like, what are you going to do? All right, here. We'll rewind that just a little bit. All right, sorry to put you through the word salad.
Billionaires committee that is beginning the process of investigating the entanglements and conflicts of interest. Just 1 to 2 weeks before the student loan ruling, the country learned that Justice Samuel Alito was accepting gifts from billionaires who were lobbying against Supreme Court that were lobbying before the Supreme Court against student loan forgiveness. Just weeks before, we learned that he was accepting gifts from them and travel and vacations from them before he decided to vote and rule in their favor. And so I believe that if Chief Justice Roberts will not come before Congress for an investigation.
God damn, this is a word salad. This is a word salad, and AOC trying to earn points for herself. Like I said, a lot of these politicians are thinking 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road, 8 years down the road for their political career. Watch. Again, 5 years of dealing with AOC. Has anything gotten better? No, but we are getting served a lot of word salads, though.
Investigation voluntarily. I believe that we should be considering subpoenas. We should be considering investigations. We must pass much more binding and stringent ethics guidelines where we see members of the Supreme Court potentially breaking the law, as we saw in the.
As is Congress. I mean, again, are you ever going to address the fact that there's insider trading happening in Congress, AOC? Again, I keep on bringing this point up, and people need to understand. I'm just not trying to be mean on purpose, right? But after a while, it gets annoying that we see these quote-unquote leaders in the United States Senate and House acting like they are the echelons, the great titans of liberty. They're doing nothing but enriching themselves. So it's easy for AOC to criticize the Supreme Court because most of those justices were appointed by Trump. But what about accountability for the people you work with, AOC? Yeah, probably none.
Refusal, with Clarence Thomas to recuse himself from cases implicating his wife in January 6th. There also must be impeachment on the table.
Impeachment. That's all they got. Impeachment. Now, look, if Obama was indecisive in regards towards not only dealing with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but also trying to get his other appointment in, what makes you think that Biden's going to be decisive? He's not going to do anything at all.
Have a broad level of tools to deal with misconduct, overreach, and abuse of power. And the Supreme Court has not been receiving the adequate oversight necessary in order to preserve their own legitimacy. And in the process, they themselves have been destroying the legitimacy of the court, which is profoundly dangerous for our entire democracy.
That was a word salad for more than a minute. She knows how to talk. I'll give her that. I'll give her that. She knows how to speak. But I want to pull up this article here from RT. Just to trigger to vote blue no matter who, people. U.S. Congress may need to impeach Supreme Court judges, AOC. U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has accused the Supreme Court of abusing its power with authoritarian rulings on such issues such as abortion, LGBTQ protections, and race-based college admissions, arguing that lawmakers should consider impeaching justices for breaking the law. Again, who helped create that Supreme Court? It's easy to point at Trump, and yes, he does bear responsibility for this, but who opened the door for him? And that's a guy named Barack Obama, because he had the audacity and the hubris to think that Hillary Clinton had the 2016 election in the bag, which she didn't. She told CNN on Sunday that if Chief Justice John Roberts does not voluntarily testify in a congressional probe of alleged ethics violations by Supreme Court judges, lawmakers should consider issuing subpoenas to demand answers. The New York Democrat also called for imposing more stringent ethics guidelines to help maintain a power balance of power among the nation's three branches of government. For those who don't know, the three branches of government are executive, legislative, and judicial. All of them work for their main person, the corporate donors. There must also be impeachment on the table. We always goes to impeachment. Impeachment. Trump got impeached twice. He doesn't care. We have a broad level of tools to deal with misconduct, overreach, and abuse of power. Gee, I wonder when Congress is going to be held accountable. Yeah, probably not. The Congresswoman made her comments after a string of rulings last week in which the nation's high court struck down President Joe Biden's plan to wipe out about $400 billion in student loan debt, block colleges from admitting students based on skin color, and upheld the free speech rights of a Christian graphic artist who refused to offer her services for same-sex weddings. Okay, so look, let's start with the bottom, with the graphic artist who refused to offer her services for a same-sex wedding, right? Okay, If somebody refuses to do a job for you, you know what you need to do? Be like, oh, okay, that's how you feel? Walk on out and find somebody else who will. Yes, there are bad people and mean people out here in the world, and you're not going to change everyone's mind. Obviously, this person told you what they feel. They're not going to do it. Okay, find somebody who would. There's a thing called Yelp reviews. You have the Library of Alexandria, your cell phones at your fingertips, where you could find somebody who would, right? Simple as that. Then, of course, you have this thing with $400 billion student loan debt. Well, okay. I kind of knew that Biden was never going to follow through on it, and he purposely made it weak. Purposely made it weak. Again, and I have to pull this up here because INN was able to capture this outstanding conversation in regards towards student debt forgiveness and really the squad. I mean, they are professionals at doing nothing but word salad. Here. Sorry to bombard you with this, folks. This is another word salad. Now, again, good friend of the show, Colin Rax Carter, who's part of the Indie News Network, asked a question. He spoke for 12 seconds. Simple question. A yes or no answer. And for the rest of the video, you're going to get yourself a thing that we're all too familiar with from the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the squad members, a word salad. It's a work of art. So shout out to Colin for asking, again, a legitimate question. Never forget that this happened, and this took place in the merry month of May. Hold on. Wait, let me just confirm that. Yes, it did. The merry month of May.
Congressman, didn't you give a memo to Biden with Senator Wong regarding student debt to tell him to use the Higher Education Act?
Let me just say this, because I'm going to get in trouble if I start taking questions from the floor.
She's going to get in trouble for taking questions from the floor. See, this was a private event. This was the Squad Victory Fund. So people were paying money. Highest price for a ticket, I believe, was $250, maybe $500. I have to look at the numbers again. And they weren't really expecting anyone to really come at them with even any questions like this, right? And notice the whole squad, from Jamal Bowman to AOC, they're all looking at her like, oh, you better answer this right. And she says she won't get in trouble. By whom? By whom?
Okay. But I want to say on student debt and where that fight stands right now, it is in the Supreme Court. By the way, expand the courts. Expand the courts. Expand the courts.
Again, expand the courts. Eventually, you're going to have each president. If that's going to be setting the precedent, if Biden's going to do that, set that precedent of having more justices in, what's stopping Trump from doing that? And the next president, and the next president. Next thing you know, we'll have 1,000 Supreme Court justices. How wonderful. How wonderful. I almost want to vomit.
And it's not that radical, y'all. There is precedent. It's been done 6 times before. It's far right. It's extremist. It's imbalanced. And they are causing great harm. That is where the student debt issue is right now. But that being said, we're all organizers, and no organizer goes into a fight without a contingency plan. We have them, but I'm not ready to see defeat here because the legal case is sound. The legal case is sound.
Cue the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. Now, I can't play it because we get hit with copyright.
So, stay tuned on that because we know that was a motivating issue in the midterms for many. This is a transformational, consequential issue, and we're not giving up this fight. So in the fact that we made it this far, first they said the president didn't have the authority. Then they said it would be regressive in impact and only benefit white graduate students who went to affluent schools. And we have challenged and proven all of that wrong. This is a huge...
Now, again, we're 1 minute, 24 seconds in. I just want to rewind it real quick, and we'll go right back to where we started from. Just a simple question he asked.
Congressman, didn't you give a memo to Biden with Senator Wong regarding student debt to tell him to use the Higher Education Act?
Let me just say this.
10 seconds speaking. 10 seconds for speaking.
Union workers, presidents, tradesmen and women. But my point is the progress that has been made is because of the movement. So I'll just close by saying this. And it is progress. And listen, 60 million people have already benefited from this relief. Provided the Supreme Court follows the letter of the law, 1 in 4 Black borrowers will have their debt zeroed out completely. This is 40 plus million people that stand to benefit. Do we want more? Do we fight for more? Yes. But Pell Grants are our most burdened recipients. And the fact that $20,000 worth of debt will be canceled for Pell Grant recipients and $10,000 for non-Pell Grant recipients, that is progress. The legal case is sound. The president has the authority. So let's see what the Supreme Court does. But my point here is, as much as I want government to lead, more often than not, government does not lead, but it does respond to pressure.
How do you feel about our current leaders responding to pressure and the concerns of the average American citizen? Let's have democracy in the chat. I know, controversial statement. What's democracy? Type 1, like, oh, can I have absolute confidence in our leaders? Type 2, like, no, I don't believe that our leaders can respond to pressure. They give out word salads and nothing changes. It keeps getting worse.
And so we have to keep it up. So I thank you all for recognizing that movements and revolutions require resources. So we thank you for your investment, and we thank you for your solidarity in this movement. The squad is big, y'all.
Yeah, had to thank the suckers for the money. So AOC, she seems to be on this warpath towards holding the Supreme Court accountable. For what? Okay, can we get any accountability for Congress? How about getting rid of Citizens United or McCutcheon's decision? How about fighting, to end money in politics? That's an idea. AOC, how about holding, term limits for these politicians? But oh wait, you're part of the big club now. 5 years in. Now AOC wants to fight the Supreme Court. Okay, using impeachment and all the tools, but give nothing but word salad. Folks, don't put all your faith in these leaders. And I know AOC and the squad, they did a fantastic job in really pulling the wool over all of our eyes. But I think all of us need to realize that the only ones that can actually get any kind of accountability to happen is if we, the people, say no more and call for action.